The sky above the planet was on fire. Ambassador stood at the window of the command center and watched her world burn. She was tall and thin, like all her people, with skin that glowed a soft blue when she was calm. But she was not calm now. Her skin flickered with dark purple patterns that showed her fear. For 300 years, the had been part of the Galactic Concord. The Concord was a group of 17 different alien species who had agreed to live in peace. They shared knowledge and medicine and art. They did not fight wars. They did not build weapons. They had been proud of this. They believed that peace was the highest goal any civilization could reach. But peace means nothing when someone comes to kill you. The swarm had arrived 6 days ago. They came from the dark spaces between galaxies, and they had only one purpose. They consumed. They ate planets and civilizations and moved on to find more. They did not talk. They did not make deals. They simply destroyed everything in their path. The first colony world had fallen in 2 days. The second had lasted only 1. Now the swarm was here at Prime, the of 60 billion souls. Commander N walked up beside her. He was old, his blue skin faded to gray in many places. He had served the government for 50 years, and he had never seen anything like this. "The orbital defense platforms are failing," he said quietly. "We have lost contact with stations 7 through 12. The others will follow within hours." Did not turn from the window. She could see the ships in the sky, thousands of them moving like a cloud of insects. They were biological vessels, grown rather than built, and they were horrible to look at. They had no beauty, no grace. They were made only for killing. "Where is the conquered fleet?" she asked. 12 cycles away, perhaps 13. "We will be dead in 12 hours. N did not argue. There was nothing to argue about. They had no military. They had a few patrol ships designed to handle pirates and smugglers, but nothing that could fight a swarm of this size. They had trusted the Conquered to protect them, and the Conquered was too far away. High Counselor Ra entered the command center. She was the oldest person in the room, her skin almost white with age. She walked slowly, but her eyes were sharp and clear. "There is another option," she said. Everyone in the room turned to look at her. "The humans." The word hung in the air like something dangerous. Everyone knew about the humans. They had been discovered 40 years ago, a young species living on a small planet called Earth. The Conquered had watched them from a distance, trying to decide if they should make contact. The decision had been no. The humans were too violent. Their history was full of wars and death. They built weapons the way other species built art. Their entertainment was full of fighting and killing. The Conquered had agreed that humanity needed another 100 years to grow up before they could be trusted. "They are not part of the Conquered," N said carefully. "They have no reason to help us." "They have helped others," Ra replied. 3 cycles ago, a human cargo ship found a vessel damaged by a solar storm. The humans risked their own lives to rescue the survivors. They asked for nothing in return. Finally turned from the window. "We have no diplomatic relations with them. We have never even spoken to them officially. The Conquered told us to stay away from them." "The Conquered is not here." Ra's old eyes met hers. "The humans are closer, much closer. If they have ships nearby, they could reach us in hours. And if they refuse, then we are no worse off than we are now." Looked around the room. She saw fear on every face, but she also saw something else. Hope. It was small and weak, but it was there. "What do we even say to them?" she asked. Ra walked to the communication console. Her old fingers moved across the controls with surprising speed. "We tell them the truth. We tell them we are dying, and we ask for help." The transmission was simple. It contained the coordinates of Prime, tactical information about the swarm, and a message recorded in every human language that had been able to study. Spoke the words herself. "This is Ambassador of Prime. Our world is under attack. Our people are dying. The Galactic Conquered cannot reach us in time. We know that we have no right to ask this of you. We know that we have never been friends, but we have seen what humans do when others are in danger. We have seen your kindness even when you receive nothing in return. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. We need backup. We are sending our location. Please come quickly. We do not have much time." She ended the transmission and stepped back from the console. "It is done," she said. N looked at the tactical display. They were getting closer. Their drop pods were beginning to enter the atmosphere, carrying ground forces that would slaughter anyone they found. "How long until we know if they received it?" he asked. "We will not know," Ra said. "We can only send and hope." The next few hours were the longest of life. She stayed in the command center and watched her world die piece by piece. The orbital stations fell one after another. The evacuation ships were shot down before they could escape. Reports came in from the eastern continent of forces landing and beginning their march across the land. Her people were peaceful. They did not know how to fight. They ran and they hid and they died. Began to accept that help was not coming. The humans were far away, and they had no reason to risk their lives for strangers. She had been foolish to hope. Then, 6 hours after the transmission was sent, the sensors began to scream. A technician looked at his console with wide eyes. "Multiple faster-than-light signatures," he reported, "many of them coming in very fast." "Is it the Conquered?" N asked, his voice shaking. "No." The technician turned to look at, and there was something in his eyes that she had not seen in days: wonder. "The signatures do not match any Conquered ships. They are completely different. They are human." Felt her skin shift through colors she could not control. She walked to the window and looked up at the burning sky. And she saw them arrive. 47 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above her world. They were not beautiful like Conquered vessels. They were ugly and angular, covered in armor plating and weapons. They looked like they had been built by people who expected to fight and expected to win. A voice came through on all frequencies. It was female, calm, and somehow warm. "This is Admiral Cole of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call. We are here to help." Felt tears forming in her eyes. She had not cried since she was a child. "You came," she whispered. "You actually came." The human admiral spoke again, and there was something in her voice that sounded almost like a smile. "I see you have some uninvited guests. Mind if we take care of them for you?" 12 light-years away from Prime, Admiral Cole was having the best day of her life. She had served in the United Earth Defense Force for 40 years. She had fought in the Mars Rebellion when she was young. She had been there during first contact with 3 different alien species. She had risen from a junior officer to the highest rank in the fleet. And now, finally, she was retiring. The party aboard Unity Station had been going for 6 hours. Her friends and colleagues had come from across the solar system to celebrate with her. There was cake and music and speeches that made her laugh and cry. At 62 years old, she was ready to stop fighting. She wanted to grow vegetables on Luna and read books and never think about tactical formations again. Then her communication device screamed with an emergency alert. Found a quiet corner and answered. The face of Captain Daniel Perry appeared on the screen. He had been her aide for 5 years before his promotion, and she trusted him completely. "Admiral, I know you retired this morning," he said, "but you need to see this right now." He sent her a file. It was a transmission from a planet called Prime. Watched it in silence. She saw alien cities burning. She saw ships being destroyed in orbit. She saw creatures that looked like giant insects descending on a peaceful world. And she heard a voice, calm despite everything, asking for help. "This is Ambassador of Prime. Our world is under attack. Our people are dying. Please, we need backup." Closed her eyes for a moment. She knew about everyone in the Defense Force knew about the Galactic Conquered and its members. She also knew that the Conquered had decided humans were too dangerous to join their club. They had told Earth to stay in its own corner of space and not cause trouble. "How long ago did we receive this?" she asked. 14 minutes. The Joint Chiefs are having an emergency meeting, but half of them are arguing about whether we have the right to interfere. And the other half, worried about making the conquered angry. Felt something hot rise in her chest. It was the same feeling she had experienced during every battle she had ever fought. It was the feeling that told her something was wrong and needed to be fixed. "Get me Admiral Christopher on a secure channel." "Ma'am, you are retired." "Then I am about to retire. Get me." 20 minutes later, stood in front of the United Earth Defense Council. These were the 12 people who controlled humanity's military. They looked at her with tired eyes and worried faces. "Admiral Cole," said Secretary General, "you understand that this is not a simple situation. I understand that people are dying while we sit here talking. They are not our allies. They are not even our friends. The conquered specifically told us to stay away from them." Took a deep breath. "Secretary General, I have spent 40 years defending humanity. I have fought rebels and pirates and things I cannot even describe. In all that time I have tried to do what is right, not what is easy, not what is safe, what is right." She pointed at the screen behind her, where the transmission was still playing on a loop. "Those people sent a message into the void, hoping that someone would answer. They sent it to us, not the conquered, us, because they heard that humans help others when they are in trouble. They heard that we do not turn away from people who need us. Admiral, if we send ships to Prime, we could start a war with the conquered. If we do not send ships, we will watch a genocide happen and do nothing. Is that who we want to be? Is that the humanity we want to show the galaxy?" Admiral Christopher stood up. He was the commander of the First Fleet, and he had served under for 10 years. He was a quiet man, but when he spoke, people listened. "If we go," he said, "we should go with everything we have. The First Fleet, 47 ships, the Resolute, the Defiant, the Valkyrie, and all their support vessels." Stared at him. "That is a third of our active military. It is also the only chance those people have." Nodded. "I will go with them. If this goes wrong, if the conquered punishes us, I will take full responsibility. This will be my decision, not yours." The council voted, 6 in favor, 6 against. Secretary General had the final vote. He sat in silence for a long moment. Then he looked at with eyes that held both fear and respect. "God help us all," he said. "Go." The First Fleet launched from Unity Station 43 minutes later, stood on the bridge of the Resolute, and watched the stars stretch into lines as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. "Time to arrival?" she asked. 6 hours, ma'am," replied Lieutenant Brooks. He was young, barely 30, with the kind of eager face that made feel very old. "Inform all ships. I want every weapon charged and every crew member at battle stations when we arrive. We are not going there to talk." "Understood, Admiral." Walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel. Somewhere ahead, a planet was dying. Somewhere ahead, people were waiting to see if anyone would come. Captain Perry appeared beside her. "Admiral, can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "Why are we doing this? Really, they never helped us. They never even talked to us. They treated us like dangerous animals." Smiled sadly. "Daniel, do you know why I joined the Defense Force?" "No, ma'am." "When I was 8 years old, there was a fire in my building. My family was trapped on the top floor. We would have died, but a firefighter climbed through the smoke and carried us out one by one. He did not know us. He had no reason to risk his life for strangers, but he did it anyway." She turned to look at him. "That is what humans do. We help people, not because they deserve it, not because they can pay us back. We help because it is the right thing to do. If we stop doing that, we stop being human." Perry was quiet for a moment, then he nodded. "I understand, Admiral." Good, now go check on the weapons systems. I want everything working perfectly when we arrive. 6 hours passed slowly. Use the time to study the intelligence reports on the. They were not encouraging. The swarm was massive, numbering in the thousands of ships. They did not negotiate or accept surrender. They simply consumed everything in their path. But had faced impossible odds before. She had learned that numbers did not always win battles. Determination did. Courage did. The will to fight when everyone else had given up. The countdown reached 0, dropping out of faster than light in 3, 2, 1. The stars returned to their normal positions, and there, directly ahead, was Prime. The planet was beautiful, covered in blue oceans and green continents. But the beauty was hidden behind a swarm of biological vessels that filled the space around it like a disease. There were thousands of them, ugly and horrible, and they had already begun to destroy everything. "My God," Lieutenant Brooks whispered. Cole straightened her spine and opened a channel to all ships. "This is Admiral Cole to all vessels. I know what you are seeing. I know it looks bad. But those people down there sent a message asking for help, and we are going to give it to them. We are humanity's answer. Let us show these bugs what that means." She switched to a broadcast frequency that every ship in the system could hear. "This is Admiral Cole of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call. We are here to help." A pause, then she added almost casually, "I see you have some uninvited guests. Mind if we take care of them for you?" The swarm was already turning toward them, thousands of biological ships preparing to attack. Smiled. "All ships," she said, "weapons free, let us get to work." Ambassador had watched the destroy everything she loved. She had seen her orbital stations explode. She had seen her evacuation ships shot down. She had watched the creatures land on her world and begin their slaughter of the eastern continent. But she had never seen anything like what happened next. The human fleet did not wait. They did not form defensive positions. They did not try to negotiate or find a peaceful solution. The moment they dropped out of faster-than-light travel, they attacked. The Resolute fired first. Missiles streaked across space in swarms that matched the in number. Rail guns launched metal slugs at incredible speeds. Point defense systems created walls of fire that nothing could pass through. The first wave of ships simply disappeared. "By the ancestors," Commander N whispered. He was standing beside, watching the battle on the tactical display. His skin had gone completely white with shock. They were not used to this. For centuries, they had consumed civilizations that tried to run or hide or surrender. No one had ever attacked them like this. No one had ever charged directly into their swarm with weapons blazing. The humans did not seem to care about the odds. The Defiant and Valkyrie broke away from the main formation, moving to the left and right of the swarm. Smaller ships darted between the biological vessels, targeting weak points with perfect accuracy. And the Resolute drove forward like a spear, cutting through the heart of the enemy. "They are insane," said High Counselor Ra, but there was wonder in her voice, not criticism. They fought back. They were dangerous and numerous, and they knew how to kill. Their biological weapons fired acid and plasma at the human ships. Their smaller vessels swarmed around the larger ones like flies around meat. The human ships took damage, watched one of the smaller vessels explode, killing everyone aboard. Another ship lost power and began drifting, but the humans did not retreat. They did not panic. They kept fighting. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Cole stood like a statue made of iron. She watched the battle unfold on screens that surrounded her, giving orders in a calm voice that never wavered. "Concentrate fire on the larger vessels," she said. "Those are the command ships. Take them out, and the smaller ones will lose coordination." Lieutenant Brooks worked his console with fast fingers. "Admiral, we are detecting boarding parties. They are trying to get inside our ships." "Tell the Marines to handle it. We do not stop shooting. They had never faced human Marines before. When they broke through the hull of the frigate Swift, they expected to find scared civilians or helpless crew members. Instead, they found soldiers in powered armor carrying weapons that could cut through anything. Captain Daniel Perry commanded the Swift from its bridge. He watched the security feeds as his Marines met thee in the corridors. "How are we doing?" he asked Lieutenant Maria Santos. She checked her console. Boarding party eliminated, all sections secure. Perry smiled. It was not a nice smile. Send a message to the bugs, tell them they picked the wrong ship. The battle continued for hours. They kept coming, wave after wave, but each wave was smaller than the last. The human weapons were too powerful. The human tactics were too aggressive. The biological ships could regenerate damage, but they could not regenerate fast enough. On Prime, watched the swarm shrink. She had started the day believing her people would all die. Now she was watching strangers from a distant world fight and bleed for them. "Why are they doing this?" she asked quietly. Ra stood beside her. "Because they are human." That is not an answer. It is the only answer that matters. Admiral Cole studied the tactical display. They were losing, but they were not finished. She could see their command ships pulling back, trying to reorganize. She could also see something else. "Lieutenant Brooks, what is that energy signature on the planet's surface?" Brooks checked his readings. "It appears to be some kind of weapon, Admiral, very large. They are building it in one of their landing zones." "Building it? How long until it is ready?" "Unknown, ma'am, but based on the power levels it could destroy a major city, maybe more." Cole felt her jaw tighten. They were not just trying to win the space battle. They were planning to burn the planet even if they lost the ships. "Can we hit it from orbit?" "Not through the atmosphere, Admiral. There is too much interference. We would need a direct strike on the ground." Cole turned to her communications officer. "Get me Major Christina Harrison." Major Harrison was the commander of the Marine contingent aboard the Resolute. She was 40 years old, with short gray hair and a face that had seen too many battles. When she appeared on the screen, she was already wearing her combat armor. "You saw the weapon," she said. "It was not a question." "I did. Can you take it out?" Harrison looked at the data Cole sent her. The weapon was surrounded by thousands of ground forces. The landing zone was a nightmare of enemy soldiers and defensive positions. "Give me 200 Marines and some air support," she said. "We will get it done." "You could die down there." "We could die up here too. At least down there we can make a difference." Cole nodded. "Go and Christina, come back alive." Harrison smiled. "I will do my best, Admiral." 20 minutes later, 12 dropships fell through the burning atmosphere of Prime. Inside them, 200 human Marines prepared to do something impossible. Major Harrison stood at the front of her transport and looked at her soldiers. They were scared. They all were, but they were also ready. "Listen up," she said. "Those bugs down there have a weapon that can kill millions of people. People who never did anything to them. People who just want to live their lives in peace. We are going to stop that from happening." The dropship shook as it entered the atmosphere. "I am not going to lie to you. This will be hard. Some of us might not make it back. But that is what we signed up for. We signed up to protect people who cannot protect themselves. We signed up to be the ones who run toward danger when everyone else runs away." She could see the ground approaching through the window. "Today, we show these aliens what humans are made of. Today, we show them why they should never have come to this planet. Today, we make them afraid of us." The dropships landed in the middle of the force. The doors opened. Major Harrison was the first one out. "Move it, Marines. We have a weapon to destroy and bugs to kill. Nobody stops until the job is done." The battle on the ground was different from the battle in space. Up there, it was about ships and tactics and coordinated fire. Down here, it was personal. It was face to face. It was looking at the enemy and making them die before they could do the same to you. The ground forces were huge, 3 meters tall, with armor made of hardened chitin and weapons that grew from their own bodies. They fought without fear or hesitation. But so did the Marines. Plasma rifles screamed. Grenades exploded. Soldiers fell on both sides. Major Harrison led from the front, her rifle never stopping, her voice never wavering. "Keep moving, we stop, we die. Forward, always forward." They fought through the enemy lines meter by meter. Behind them, they left a trail of dead. Ahead of them, the weapon grew closer. And in orbit, the remaining swarm ships began to flee. The humans had won the space battle. Now everything depended on the Marines. Major Christina Harrison had seen war before. She had fought on Mars during the rebellion. She had defended human colonies from pirates who thought civilians were easy targets. She had been wounded 3 times and decorated 5 times and lost more friends than she could count. But she had never fought anything like They were everywhere. The landing zone was filled with thousands of the creatures, and they all seemed to sense that the Marines were coming for the weapon. They threw themselves at the human soldiers in waves that never ended. "Sergeant, take your squad left and clear that building," Harrison shouted over the sound of plasma fire. Sergeant was a big man from Texas who had been in the Marines for 15 years. He nodded once and led his 10 soldiers toward a structure that had been converted into a nest. Seconds later, grenades exploded inside, and the creatures began pouring out in chaos. Harrison kept pushing forward. The weapon was only 500 meters away now. She could see it through the smoke and fire, a massive tower of biological material that pulsed with energy. They had grown it from their own bodies, feeding it with the power they had harvested from technology. "How much time do we have?" she called to her technical specialist. Corporal Lisa Grant checked her scanner. "The weapon is almost fully charged, Major. Maybe 10 minutes before it fires." "Then we better move faster." The Marines were taking casualties. Harrison saw Private First Class Danny Young fall when a blade cut through his armor. She saw Sergeant Stone drag a wounded soldier to cover while firing her rifle with one hand. She saw things that would give her nightmares for years. But they kept moving. On the Resolute, Admiral Cole watched the ground battle through satellite feeds. Every time a Marine fell, she felt it like a punch to the chest. These were her people. They were dying because she had given the order. "Admiral," Lieutenant Brooks said quietly, "the ground team is 300 meters from the weapon. Time until it fires." 7 minutes. Cole gripped the railing in front of her so hard her knuckles turned white. "Come on, Christina. You can do this." On the ground, Major Harrison reached the base of the weapon. They had concentrated their defenders here, forming a wall of chitinous bodies around their creation. There were at least 500 of them, maybe more. Harrison looked at what remained of her force. Out of 200 Marines who had landed, she had 87 still fighting. Many of those were wounded. "Major," Sergeant appeared beside her, his armor scorched and dented. "We do not have the numbers to break through that line." "I know. So what do we do?" Harrison looked at the weapon. It was humming now, the sound growing louder by the second. In a few minutes, it would fire and millions would die. People who had never held a weapon. People who had trusted the galaxy to protect them. "We go through anyway," she said. She opened a channel to all her Marines. "Listen up. I know we are outnumbered. I know we are tired and hurt and scared. But that thing behind those bugs is going to kill millions of innocent people if we do not stop it. So here is what we are going to do. We are going to charge that line. We are going to break through. And we are going to blow that weapon into pieces so small that we'll never find them." She took a breath. "Some of us will not make it. I know that, you know that, but every single one of those people down in those cities is counting on us right now. They do not know our names, they will probably never meet us, but they are alive because we are here, and I am not going to let them down. Are you with me?" The response came from 87 voices at once. "Yes, ma'am." "Then fix bayonets, we are going in." The charge was something that they would talk about for generations. 87 humans against 500, running straight at a wall of death with nothing but courage and determination. They should have died, all of them. The math said it was impossible. But humans had never been very good at math when it came to war. The Marines hit the line like a hammer hitting glass. They fought with rifles and knives and sometimes just their fists. They fought like they had nothing to lose, because in that moment they did not. All that mattered was reaching that weapon. Harrison was in the front. She shot two and stabbed a third with her combat knife. A blade cut across her arm, opening a wound that bled freely, but she did not stop. She could not stop. Sergeant fought beside her. He was using his rifle as a club now, having run out of ammunition. He swung it in great arcs that broke through chitin and bone. Corporal Grant had reached the weapon itself. She was planting the demolition charges, her hands steady despite the chaos around her. 30 seconds until the charges are set, she shouted. "Everyone cover her," Harrison ordered. The Marines formed a circle around Grant. They took hits from every direction and more soldiers fell, but they held the line. They held it until Grant finished her work and screamed the words they had all been waiting for. "Charges set, everyone get clear." Harrison grabbed Grant and pulled her back. "All units fall back now." The surviving Marines ran. Behind them, they realized what was happening and tried to stop the detonation, but it was too late. The explosion was massive. The weapon detonated along with the charges, creating a fireball that could be seen from space. Hundreds of were vaporized instantly. The shockwave knocked the Marines off their feet. When Harrison stood up, the weapon was gone. In its place was a smoking crater. Major was beside her, bleeding from a dozen wounds. "We did it." Harrison looked around. Out of 87 Marines who had charged the line, 42 were still alive. Many of them were wounded badly enough that they might not survive the trip back to the ships. But they had done it. On the Resolute, Admiral Cole let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. "The weapon is destroyed," she said quietly. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Cole did not celebrate. She was thinking about the soldiers who had died, the families who would receive messages telling them their loved ones were not coming home. "Get medical teams to the surface immediately," she ordered. "I want every wounded Marine back on this ship within the hour." In orbit, the last of the swarm was fleeing. Their command ships were destroyed. Their ground weapon was gone. They had come to consume Prime, and instead they had learned something new. There were things in this galaxy that they could not defeat. Ambassador stood at the window of the command center and watched the ships disappear into the void. She was crying, though she barely noticed. Her world was still there. Her people were still alive. Because strangers had come to help. "We owe them everything," she said softly. Ra stood beside her. "Yes, we do." "What do we do now?" The old counselor smiled. "We thank them, and then we make sure the galaxy knows what happened here today. We make sure everyone knows what humans are willing to do for people they have never met." High above, the Resolute hung in orbit like a guardian angel made of metal and fire. Its hull was and burned, but it had not fallen. It had not retreated. It had come when no one else would. And it had stayed until the job was done. The Galactic Conquered Fleet arrived 12 hours too late. Admiral and had expected to find a dead world. He had expected burned cities and orbital debris, and the scattered remains of 60 billion people. They had never failed to destroy their targets before. There was no reason to think this time would be different. Instead, he found a human war fleet in defensive formation around a living planet. "This is impossible," he said, staring at the tactical display. The swarm numbered in the thousands. How could 47 ships stop them? His aide had no answer. Neither did anyone else on the conquered flagship. On Prime, the survivors were beginning to emerge from their shelters. They looked up at the sky and saw something they had never expected to see. Human ships patrolling their orbit. Human shuttles bringing medical supplies to the surface. Human soldiers walking through their streets, not as conquerors, but as friends. Ambassador requested a meeting with Admiral Cole. It took place aboard the Resolute, in a conference room that still smelled of smoke and blood. The ship had not had time to clean itself after the battle. Cole stood when entered. The Admiral looked tired. Her uniform was wrinkled and there were dark circles under her eyes. She had not slept since the battle began. "Ambassador," she said, "I hope your people are recovering." Stopped in the middle of the room. She looked at this human, this woman who had brought her fleet across the stars to save strangers. She tried to find words that could express what she was feeling. "Admiral Cole," she said finally, "my people do not have a tradition of war. We do not understand violence the way you do, but we understand sacrifice, and we understand what you have done for us." She bowed her head. "You lost soldiers today. Good people who came here to help us and will never go home again. I do not know how to repay that. I do not know if it can ever be repaid." Cole was quiet for a moment. Then she walked forward and gently lifted its chin until they were looking at each other. "Ambassador, we did not come here for payment. We did not come for thanks or rewards or political advantage. We came because you asked for help. That was enough." "But why? Your own government did not want you to come. Your own people could have punished you for this." "Because that is what humans do." Cole smiled, and for a moment she looked almost peaceful. "We help people. It is what we have always done, even when we fail at it, even when we make mistakes. When someone calls for backup, we answer." The door opened and Commander N entered. "Forgive me, Ambassador. The conquered fleet has arrived. Admiral N is requesting an explanation." Cole straightened her uniform. "Well then, let us give him one." The meeting with the conquered delegation was tense. Admiral N was a large being covered in scales, with eyes that showed no emotion and a voice that could have frozen water. He sat across from Admiral Cole and tried to understand what had happened. "You had no right to enter this space," he said. "You had no authority to engage in military action. The conquered specifically instructed your species to remain in your own territory." Cole did not flinch. "You are correct, Admiral. We had no right and no authority. What we had was a distress call from people who were dying. Your fleet was 12 hours away. We were 6. We made a choice. A choice that could have started a war. A choice that saved 60 billion lives." And was silent. Behind him, other conquered delegates shifted uncomfortably. They had spent years debating whether to contact humanity. They had written reports about human violence and human unpredictability. They had concluded that Earth was not ready to join the galactic community. And now humans had done something that none of them had been able to do. "The conquered will need to discuss this matter," and said finally. "There will be hearings, investigations. Your actions will be examined in detail." "I understand." Cole stood up. "Examine whatever you want. Investigate to your heart's content. But while you are doing that, remember one thing." She looked around the room at all the alien faces. "When they sent out a call for help, we answered. Not because we had to, not because it benefited us, because it was the right thing to do. That is who we are. And if anyone else in this galaxy ever needs backup, they know who to call." She walked out of the room without looking back. The diplomatic process took months. Hearings were held. Reports were written. The conquered debated endlessly about what had happened at Prime and what it meant for the future. Ambassador gave testimony before the High Assembly. She stood in front of representatives from 17 species and told them what she had seen. "When our world was burning, we sent a message into the void. We did not expect anyone to answer. The humans answered. They came across 12 light years in 6 hours. They fought a battle against impossible odds. They sent their soldiers to die on our soil so that our people could live. She paused, letting her words sink in. The conquered has always believed that humanity was too violent to join us, too dangerous, too unpredictable. Perhaps that is true, but I have seen what human violence looks like when it is used to protect the innocent. I have seen human danger pointed at those who would destroy us, and I have learned that unpredictability can mean showing up when no one expected help to come. The assembly was silent. I move that the United Earth Defense Force be commended for their actions at Prime, and I move that humanity be offered full membership in the Galactic Concord. They have earned it, more than earned it. The vote took 3 days. Species that had never agreed on anything found themselves united. When the final count came in, it was unanimous. Humanity was invited to join the Galactic Concord. Admiral Cole attended the ceremony. She wore her dress uniform, the one with all the medals and ribbons from 40 years of service. She stood at the podium and looked out at beings who had considered her species unworthy of contact. "I am not good at speeches," she began. "I am a soldier. I know how to fight and how to lead and how to sacrifice, but I will try to explain what I think humanity brings to this Concord." She took a breath. "We are violent, that is true. Our history is full of wars and death, but we are also compassionate. We build hospitals and schools and organizations that help people in need. We are unpredictable, yes, but that unpredictability means we will always surprise you, sometimes in bad ways, more often in good ones." She looked at Ambassador, who was smiling. "We came to Prime because someone asked for help. That is what we do. That is what we have always done, even when we have failed at everything else. We see someone in trouble and we try to help. It is built into our nature. It is what makes us human." She straightened her spine. "So here is my promise to this Concord. We will not always agree with you. We will argue and debate and sometimes make you angry. But when you need backup, when the darkness comes and you feel alone, you will not be, because humans will answer. Every single time. That is who we are. That is who we will always be." The assembly was silent for a long moment. Then Ambassador began to clap. The gesture was awkward because her hands were not shaped for applause, but the meaning was clear. Other delegates joined in, one by one, species by species, until the entire chamber echoed with the sound. Admiral Cole smiled. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not through diplomacy or trade or cultural exchange, through something simpler and more powerful. They had answered a call for help. And the galaxy would never be the same. Far away, on a small ship drifting through the void, a young survivor sent a message to its people. The message contained a warning. It contained tactical data and casualty reports and analysis of human weapons. But most importantly, it contained 2 words that they had never used before. "Avoid humans." The message spread through the swarm. It was passed from ship to ship, from hive to hive. And slowly, they began to change their routes. They began to avoid a certain region of space, a region where a small blue planet orbited an ordinary yellow star. Earth was safe, and so was everyone Earth chose to protect. Because when you call for backup, humans answer. That is just what they do.